In Stratfor's opinion, the July 21 summit of the Eurozone ministers laid the groundwork for the end of the Eurozone crisis. The summit agreed to expand the powers of the European Financial Stability Fund, aka the bailout fund, and allow it to launch bailouts without first having to go back to the Ministry Council. More importantly, the fund's bailout powers are not limited to states any longer. Now they can be extended to banks as well as entire financial sectors. The changes in the EFSF cut to the core of the weakness in the European system and lay the groundwork for a possible solution. However, three not insignificant obstacles remain. First, the EFSF changes and upgrades have not yet been ratified by the member states. August is vacation time in Europe, and so far, no country outside of the three that actually are under bailout protection have really seemed that interested in rushing back to parliamentary sessions in order to pass the changes and ratify them. The lack of urgency in European capitals is having the opposite effect in the capital markets. Instead of being calmed, those markets are re-examining and questioning absolutely everything about the Eurozone. Spain and Italy are suffering the most, but even France is finding itself under a bit of a microscope. Bond spreads across Europe, as compared to the German Bund, have risen to Euro-era highs. Second, while a more broadly empowered EFSF is critical to solving the European problem, it's not sufficient. So far, the EFSF has a maximum fundraising limit of 440 billion euro. To present the markets with a credible backstop for a country like, say, Italy, that amount has to raise by at least 2 trillion euro, which would require, at minimum, one additional summit and at minimum, one additional round of ratifications. These first two problems merge into the third problem, Germany. Opposition has been building in Germany for weeks against the EFSF changes in specific and against bailouts in general, particularly if those bailouts might involve a five-fold increase or more in the financial commitment that the Germans are expected to give. Most notably, that opposition has been rising even within Chancellor Merkel's party, as well as that of her junior coalition partner, the Free Democrats. If Germany is going to sign off on greater volumes of aid, it's going to insist on more conditions and more power over how that aid is used. On August 9th, we may have gotten a glimpse of what the Germans have in mind. On that day, Economy Minister Philipp Roesler promoted the idea of a sort of stability council that would have the power to oversee European governments and their finances and to sanction states that cause problems. Now, this is not officially the position of the German government. It is simply the position of the Economy Ministry, the Deputy Chancellor, the junior coalition partner. Whether this becomes official German policy remains to be seen. It will be presented, however, to European finance ministers either this month or next month. Details are thin at this present, most notably who would be sitting on this council and what sort of basis they would be using for the decisions, not to mention what possible consequences they could impose on states that fail to meet the council's designs. But the directives as outlined by Roesler to this point contain a couple interesting characteristics. First, constitutional limits on debt to be imposed directly into each EU state's constitution. And second, the ability of the Council to impose stress tests, not on banks or any particular institution, but on the economy as a whole, including the government. The mere existence of these tests is perhaps the most far-reaching proposal that Roesler is making, because if you have a test, you hopefully have some template for what success actually looks like. And because this test is being proposed by a German, one can safely guess that Germany might be the poster child for what success would look like. Germany is an incredibly capital-rich state, and all of that capital allows Germans to have one of the world's most advanced infrastructures, most advanced materials and industrial base, and most skilled workforce, which means that products created by the Germans in Germany can compete globally no matter what the price of their currency happens to be. This is not the case for most of the rest of Europe. Most of the rest of Europe is not nearly as capital-rich, so their labor pool is not nearly as skilled, their industrial base is not nearly as advanced, which means that their products, in contrast to Germany's, are price-dependent. The value of their currency does matter a great deal. The common currency already makes growth for these countries problematic, but applying Roesler's strictures would make it almost impossible. But if the European Financial Stability Fund is going to be expanded to the volume that is necessary to make a real difference in the euro crisis, Germany is going to have to be bought off. And this may well be the price.